Welcome to the Narrative Mindset Podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, I would appreciate it if you went back and viewed previous episodes when you get time. Dust and blood. I was driving down a long, empty stretch of road outside the city. The kind of road where the dust hangs in the air, like it's thinking about settling but hasn't made up its mind yet. And as I'm cruising along, I start thinking about how some roads feel older than others. How they feel tired, like they've held too many footsteps, too many hopes, too many failures, and they're still being asked to carry more. That's when the grapes of the wrath drifted into my head. Not the story itself, but the feeling of it. The weight of people trying to move forward while everything behind them is crumbling into dirt. I thought about the Jodes, whole families shoved out of their land, pushed into the unknown, carrying their homes inside their bones because the world took everything else. And I'm thinking, I know that feeling. Not the Dust Bowl part, but the part where life forces you to move when you're not ready. The part where you leave pieces of yourself behind because holding on to them would break you. The air felt gritty through the vents, and I said to myself, I don't know if people understand how heavy survival is. They think it's fighting, but sometimes it's just showing up. And that's the strange thing. When you're driving alone, your mind wanders into places you didn't know were still lit up. I started imagining Tom Joad sitting in the passenger seat, staring out at that long road with me, face carved from worry and duty. The kind of man who'd say something simple like, "The fella ain't got a soul of his own. He's a piece of a big one." And I nod, because I know that feeling too. The sense that you're carrying other people's weight, other people's survival, whether you choose to or not. The road stretched on like a ribbon of old sorrow. Like it had seen everything and judged none of it. And I kept driving. Dust in the air. Dust in my thoughts. Dust settling in all the small spaces of memory. Because sometimes the dust isn't outside. It's inside. It's in the blood. And the only way to keep going is to breathe through it and hope the wind shifts eventually. You're driving through the city again. Same cracked streets. Same tired lights. Same people hurrying toward the next responsibility, pretending it's a choice. But tonight, the grapes aren't just hanging heavy on the vine. They're fermenting, turning into something else, something stronger. Because that's what pressure does. It converts frustration into clarity. It turns bitterness into resolve. Earlier in your life, you take every hit personally. You thought struggle was punishment, like life was singling you out. But now you're older, a little wiser, a little scared. You've seen enough reasons to know that every vineyard goes through drought. And the only thing that matters is whether the roots went deep enough. Yours did. That's when you realize something. Wrath isn't about rage. It's about release. Not exploding outward, but finally letting go of everything you've been holding on. The apologies you never received. The people who took advantage of your loyalty. The last time you wasted trying to be understood by people who didn't deserve your story. The years you blamed yourself for situations you outgrew. The city looks the same. Same dim streetlights. Same impatient traffic. Same buildings leaning on each other like tired giants. But you're not the same. Something shifted in you overnight. It wasn't dramatic. No lightning. No epiphany. Just a slow, steady click. Like gears finally aligning after years of grinding. And that's alignment. It comes with a cost. Because when you grow, you start noticing things you used to excuse. The people who only call when they need something. The friends who liked you better when you were struggling. The environments that praised your resilience, but never your peace. The habits disguised as comfort that were really self-sabotage. You start seeing the weight you used to carry without question. You start asking, why am I still dragging this? Not dramatically, quietly. You drive with the window cracked. A cool breeze tapping your shoulder like an old friend. Detroit hums around you. A low industrial heartbeat. And for once, you're not fighting against the rhythm. You're moving with it. Letting it push you forward instead of sideways. You remember the families and the grapes of the wrath. How the road didn't save them. It revealed them. Stripped them down to whatever was real. That's when you recognize the anger you thought you buried. Not explosive anger, the quiet, exhausted kind. The kind that comes from years of giving more than you received. And instead of running from it, you do something new. You sit with it. You ask it questions. You let it speak. And you tell it what it needed all along. Turns out, it never wanted revenge. It wanted acknowledgement. It wanted you to say, yeah, that hurt. That wasn't fair. But it happened. And I'm still here. That acceptance softens something in you. Not weaker, smoother. Not gentler, wiser. The vines inside you stretch again. Roots gripping deeper into the soil of who you're becoming. The grapes darken, grow fuller, ripen with purpose. What used to feel like burden now feels like preparation. It's the moment you realize your story isn't just about what you broke. It's about what you're capable of building now that you're no longer willing to be broken. You exhale. The light turns green. And this time, you don't drive forward. You move on. You're sitting somewhere ordinary. Maybe your car. Maybe your kitchen. Maybe in that in-between place where you scroll your phone, even though you don't actually want to look at anything. And suddenly you realize you're tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. Not exhausted, hollow. Like someone scooped out the center of you and filled it with silence. You start thinking about the road again, the metaphorical one, the emotional one, the one people think is about travel when really it's about surrender. You wonder when you accepted that life was supposed to be this heavy. You wonder who taught you that moving forward meant dragging the same weight forever. But then something strange happens. You don't feel angry about it anymore. It's like you've reached a point where the fury burned itself out, where wrath is no longer wrath. It's clarity. And clarity is dangerous because it forces you to tell the truth. You start analyzing your past, the way you'd examine dents in an old car. Here's where someone slammed into me. Here's where I ignored the warning signs. Here's where I drove myself off the edge without brakes. Here's where I pretended everything was fine because collapsing wasn't an option. And the craziest part, you don't judge yourself for any of it. You just notice it, objectively, almost compassionately, like you're finally ready to study your own damage instead of hiding it. Because clarity is never passive. It demands action. You start doing small rebellions against the old version of you. You tell someone no without explaining why. You choose silence over arguing. You let a call ring out because you already know the conversation will drain you. You clean out the trunk of your car and realize you've been carrying around things you don't even like. You open a window and the breeze feels like forgiveness. It's the kind of change nobody else notices at first, but you do. And that's enough. Wrath used to be the fuel, the thing that pushed you forward when life felt impossible. You realize something. You realize you don't need anger to move anymore. Not when you've started growing roots that are stronger than your fear. The grapes inside you, that emotional harvest you've been unwillingly cultivating, start shifting. They're still heavy, still full, still dark with memory, but they're beginning to sweeten, quietly, naturally, without you forcing it. And that's the revelation. You survived the season of wrath. Now you're entering the season of becoming. Not joy, not happiness, Just a moment where your chest doesn't feel like it's carrying the weight of a mattress around. It happens unexpectedly. Maybe while you're driving. Maybe while you're washing dishes. Maybe while you're standing in line at a gas station, staring at a lottery number you know damn well you're not going to play. But there's this flicker, this tiny weightlessness, and your first instinct is suspicion, because heaviness becomes familiar, because pain became predictable. Because you learned somewhere along the way that if something feels too easy, you're probably missing a trap. But nothing bad happens. Nothing crashes. Nothing snaps. The lightness stays. And that confuses you more than darkness ever did. You start thinking, and you say it to yourself in that rambling internal monologue you always have. Maybe I'm not as broken as I thought. Maybe I just needed to stop pretending the weight wasn't there. And right when you're rethinking that, you notice the world differently. Colors look less washed out. Cars don't sound like threats. Silence isn't so loud. Your own voice feels less like gravel. Even your reflection seems softer around the edges. It's like someone dimmed the emotional fluorescent lights you've been living under your entire life. Start cleaning up the small things in your life. Not because you're trying to impress anybody, but because you finally have the mental room to do it. You throw away old receipts. You delete numbers you'd never call again. You organize the glove compartment. You let a memory pass without wrestling it. You breathe without noticing you were holding your breath for months. And then, out of nowhere, you get hit with a thought that stops you cold. Maybe the anger wasn't just a burden. Maybe it was a shield. Because without the wrath, without the storm, you're exposed. You're vulnerable. You're real. And that scares you. Because you don't run from it. Not this time. Instead, you let the vulnerability sit beside you like a passenger who doesn't talk much, but doesn't need you to. You let it exist. You let yourself exist with it. Survival and healing are the same thing. You survive years by being hard. Now you're learning to live by being honest. The grapes, the symbolic ones growing inside you, start shifting again. They're no longer bitter. They're fuller, richer, a little sweeter around the edges. They're becoming something worth harvesting, worth sharing, worth growing from. What if I'm allowed to want more? And the crazy part is, you don't know how to answer it. Wanting more always felt dangerous, like a gamble you'd lose, like reaching for something only to have the universe smack your hand away. So you kept expectations low, your dreams folded tightly in the glove compartment, your hopes wrapped in duct tape so they wouldn't leak out accidentally. But now you're not so sure. The wrath that used to push you through life like a storm wind has quieted. You can't hear yourself think again. You can hear what actually you really want. Not the survival version of you, but the fully human version. And it feels strange, new, tender. Even you find yourself doing things without meaning to. Searching for apartments you aren't ready to rent. Browsing jobs you aren't sure you qualify for. Looking at neighborhoods you'd like to walk in without feeling watched. Imagine a life where you wake up without bracing for impact. You're not acting on any of it. Not yet. But your mind is opening doors you used to keep bolted shut. And that's movement. Real movement. Movement you didn't think you'd ever make. The permission to change, to want, to imagine, to rebuild, to stop being loyal to your suffering. And as you notice this shift, you start rethinking the things you used to tolerate. Conversations that drained you. Environments that shrink you. People who mistook your endurance for endless availability. Habits that kept you numb inside instead of alive. You don't explode. You don't announce some grand transformation on social media. You don't post a quote about healing with a sunrise background. No, you just shift quietly, deliberately. You start making micro decisions that your old self wouldn't understand. You walk away earlier. You rest without guilt. You listen to music that makes you feel instead of forget. You plan for a future without assuming it'll collapse. You show up for yourself in ways you never thought you deserved. And somewhere in the middle of all this subtle rearranging, you feel something you don't recognize at first. Possibility. Real, raw possibility. The kind that doesn't shout. It hums. Like an engine warming up. Like dawn leaking under a door. Like a seed deciding to push through soil, even though it remembers the weight of winter. The grapes inside you, this emotional harvest you've been cultivating, start to glow in a way that doesn't make sense. Heavy but alive. Bruised but growing. Wrath turning into wisdom. Pain turning into direction. But this time, you're standing in a version of your life that isn't complete, but is undeniably different. You can feel the road ahead, not as a punishment, not as an exile, but as an invitation. And this time, you're not moving because something behind you is burning. You're moving because something ahead of you is calling. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not healed either. And that place, that middle ground, is strange as hell. It's like standing in the doorway of a house you've already moved out of, looking around at the empty rooms, remembering everything that happened inside, feeling nothing and everything at the same time. You're not who you were, but you're not who you're trying to become yet either. You're in the hallway phase of your life. No windows, no chairs, no decorations, just echoes and decision making. You find yourself thinking about all the transitions you never noticed growing up. How nobody tells you that growth has gaps, that healing has pauses, that change isn't one smooth elevator ride where you press a button and suddenly you're better. No, it's more like stairs, uneven ones, creaky ones. Sometimes you climb 2 at a time. Sometimes you sit down on the landing because your legs are shaking. And because you're you, because your brain never shuts up, you narrate it yourself as it happens. I'm sitting here because I'm tired. Because I'm also sitting here because I'm thinking. And I'm thinking about because I'm scared. And I'm scared because I'm actually getting somewhere. That's the peculiar part. You're afraid of progress. It's easier to stay broken when broken is familiar. It's easier to stay angry when anger is armor. It's easier to stay stuck when stuck doesn't ask anything new from you. But somewhere between yesterday and today, you realize something radical. You deserve a life that doesn't feel like punishment. And once that thought enters your bloodstream, it won't leave. You start noticing tiny rebellions again. You speak more carefully. You eat slower. You pay attention to your breath. You stop letting certain people occupy space in your mind rent-free. You stop rehearsing conversations that will never happen. You start showing yourself a gentleness you used to reserve only for people who hurt you. And in the middle of this softness, another truth emerges. Forgiving yourself is harder than forgiving anyone else. You forgive yourself for staying too long. You forgive yourself for not knowing better. You forgive yourself for all the versions of you that had to fight just to stay alive. You realize you were your own battleground for years. And now you're trying to become your own sanctuary. It's not exciting. It's not cinematic. It's not loud. It's quiet, crawling, necessary growth. The kind that happens under the surface while nobody's watching. The kind plants do in the dark before they even reach the sun. The grapes inside you are changing again, ripening, softening, taking shape. This harvest of your life is beginning to taste like something other than bitterness. Something deeper, something earned, not fast, not confident, not perfect, just forward. And sometimes that's enough. You notice how your hands feel when you hold them together. You notice the air around your shoulders, how it doesn't feel like it's pressing down so much anymore. You notice that the words you used to repeat in your head, I can't, I'm not ready, I'll fail, aren't as loud as they used to be. They're still there, whispering, but they're smaller, less convincing, less controlling, And that's the first step of the harvest. You start observing the world differently, without judgment, without the old fire of wrath screaming at everything unfair. You notice the people who actually care, the people who try, quietly, without spotlight or grand gestures, the people who were always there, but whose presence you never paid attention to because your own storm was so loud. You catch yourself smiling for no reason. You let the car idle at a red light, listening to the hum of the engine. You watch a tree outside sway in the wind without thinking about what it's supposed to do. You let yourself exist in the present, untethered from guilt, shame, or old fury. And then, somewhere between noticing and breathing, a bigger realization hits you. You don't have to be angry to survive anymore. You remember the long road, the dust, the weight. You remember everything that tried to break you. And instead of collapse, you feel something new, a calm defiance, not rebellion against the world, not fire, not fury, just a quiet, steady commitment to yourself. And that's enough for now. The grapes are heavy still, but they're no longer a burden. They're a promise. Maybe I can finally carry this and still be whole. It's a strange feeling. Moving forward without the validation you always thought you needed. You notice the weight of survival shifting from your shoulders into your chest. Not as a burden, but as something living, pulsing, waiting to be understood. The grapes inside you have ripened enough to remind you that endurance isn't passive. It's active. It's conscious. It's deliberate. You think about all the people you left behind, not because you wanted to, but because they couldn't walk the road you're on. You notice the quiet strength in small victories. Paying your own bills without panicking. Saying no without guilt. Laughing when nobody else seems to notice. Staying in a job, a city. A life that could crush you and still moving forward. You start telling yourself the story you need to hear. The one where you're not just surviving, but preparing to live fully. You replay moments of wrath and suffering, not with bitterness, but with a scholar's curiosity. What did I learn? How did I grow? The anger that once threatened to define you now sits quietly in a corner, a shadow that reminds you of your resilience, not your weakness. The dust, the drought, the endless roads, they all become part of a curriculum you never asked for but needed nonetheless. And suddenly, it hit you. You are more than the world has allowed you to be. You notice the small shifts in your body, the way your hands no longer tremble at the thought of uncertainty, the way your spine feels longer, straighter. As if it's finally being trusted to hold the weight it was always capable of. The grapes are heavier now, yes, but not bitter. They are lessons that have become a harvest in your chest. And the truth is, you're standing in the middle of all you've endured, yet not broken, You are a quiet monument to your own perseverance. The journey isn't over. It's only becoming more intentional. You notice how much space you occupy in the world now. Not physically, not in a boastful way, but in a way that the air itself seems to acknowledge you. The city hums differently. Cars pass by slower, maybe out of respect, maybe coincidence. You feel the rhythm of existence syncing with yours instead of constantly colliding against it. The grapes inside you, all the lessons, all the anger, all the silent endurance, have fermented into something denser than memory. They are wisdom now, not rigid, not heavy, but dense. You feel their weight. Yes, but it's the weight of something worth carrying, not something that drags you under. I have carried it all, and I'm ready to carry it myself. You're sitting somewhere ordinary, a bench, a car, maybe a corner of your apartment, and for the first time in a long time, you feel present without guilt, without tension, without the constant hum of wrath in your chest. The grapes inside you, all the bitterness, struggle, endurance, and silent fury have transformed. They are no longer burdens. They are a harvest. They are proof. Proof that you survived, that you endured, that you learned. And in this moment, you realize the truth. The journey was never about the road, or the dust, or the weight. It was about becoming someone capable of carrying it all. Life will always throw dust in your face, storms on your path, weight on your shoulders. But you've learned how to carry it, and carry it well. And with that, the harvest is complete.